establishment and vesting of National Climate Fund. Is there any debate? Objection? Agreed to.
There is debate.
Which clause, Honor?
21.
I give you the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam President.
No, I'm the chair now.
Madam President Chair, I appreciate.
No, I said I'm the chair. I'm not in the seat.
Madam Chair, I appreciate. Thank you so much. Madam Chair, I put in proposed amendments early today, and the standing orders allow me to do that so that my proposal can be debated, and if it finds pleasure with the House, get that amendment built into the Act. I propose the deletion of clause 2 so that it can read as follows: that there is hereby established a National Climate Change Council, which shall be a board corporate capable of suing and being sued in its own name, and that board shall be responsible for the management and administration of the National Climate Fund. I've got some justifications for that thinking, Madam President, and it's informed by comparing other funds, how they are administered, and the efficacy of the same. Madam President, if you look at the AIDS levy fund, you generally see that it's something that has performed so well for the country. In fact, we are applauded all over the world. Give it to President Mugabe for thinking that way and making sure that the AIDS fund is managed by a council, not a resident in the ministry. So copying from that, I would think that it would make better sense. I think the fund will be more effective if it's managed by a council rather than by some individual sitting in a corner in the ministry. Madam President, the reason for this is that climate finance requires independence, transparency, and accountability. An autonomous council inspires greater confidence among international climate financiers, such as the Green Climate Fund and the Adaptation Fund. Decisions on funding should be based on technical merit rather than ministerial discretion. Parliament will exercise more effective oversight over an independent statutory body than over a fund directly controlled by the minister. Madam President, the minister should remain responsible for policy, while the council is responsible for implementation and fiduciary management consistent with principles of good public administration. This amendment that I propose, Madam Chair, does not diminish the minister's policy role. Rather, it seeks to separate policy formulation from financial management, which is a widely accepted governance principle and would likely strengthen the credibility and effectiveness of the National Climate Fund. Additionally, I propose insertion of another clause which proposes the composition of the National Climate Fund Council, namely a chairperson appointed by the President on the recommendation of Parliament, permanent secretaries for climate, finance and local government, Environmental Management Agency, EMA, Zimbabwe National Water Authority, local authority representation, the private sector, civic society, a representative of women and youths, and people with disability, and representation of traditional leaders. So I submit. Thank you.
Take your seat, it's okay. Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, to respond to the debate. Honorable Senator. Ndiye ari kutaura ikoko. Respond, Minister. Let the Minister respond. She heard what you said.
I would like to thank the honorable member for the proposal. I think all the time we as government try by all means to cut costs, and this fund is resident in the ministry because we are trying to cut costs. Secondly, I'm just a trustee. I'm not a decision maker on my own. I'm a trustee. So I think the amendment, the proposed amendment is okay. It's not okay for me because I'm just a trustee. The bill is okay as it is, and the reason why we did not put a trustee, that clause was there, and we removed it because we didn't want to burden the fiscus with the payment of dues to a board of trustees or a council. I so submit.
Any objection? Any objection?
Yes. Objection.
Honorable Zvidzai.
I find the minister's argument a little, well, I don't think she considered what I said. Madam President, if it's good for the Ministry of Health to have the National AIDS Council to manage the AIDS funds, and if that has worked so well, is the minister saying the Ministry of Health is not alive to the need for making costs lean? What's wrong with that? Secondly, this is not personal. It's not about Minister Dr. Everlyn Ndlovu. It's about a principle. So whether it's not about her, it's about introducing a principle that makes the governance of this fund better so that it can deliver better to the people. It could be Minister X, Y, Z. It doesn't really matter. What matters is the principle. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, I've been correcting you. I'm saying I'm honorable chair when I'm here. I'm not a Madam President. Honorable Minister, Ziam.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, the fund was established and the minister responsible for climate change is a trustee, and the permanent secretary will be administering the fund. And how the fund will be disbursed is prescribed. So I do not see any problems with that, and I believe that the way our drafters put it, it's very good. We have a fund that has been set up. The funds are state funds. The minister is just a trustee, is not a beneficiary. The beneficiaries who are clearly prescribed and everything will actually be the parliament who have oversight on the activities of the fund. And in that regard, I do not believe that there is anything amiss in the arrangement. We have had several arrangements like that, and this is not the first time that we have had an arrangement like that. So I propose, Honorable Chair, that we proceed. I thank you.
Put clause 22, objects of fund. Is there any debate? Any objection? Agreed to. I put clause 23, monies of fund. Is there any debate? Any objection? Agreed to. I put clause 24, publication of projects financed by fund. Is there any debate? Any objection? Agreed to. I put clause 25, financial year of fund. Is there any debate? Any objection? Agreed to. I put clause 26, books of account and audit of fund. Is there any debate? Any objection? Agreed to. I put clause 27, mainstreaming of climate change. Is there any debate? Any objection? Agreed to. I put clause 28, public sector climate change duties. Is there any debate? Any objection? Agreed to. Clause 29, climate change focal officers. Is there any debate? Any objection? Agreed to. I put clause 30, duties of provincial councils, metropolitan councils, and local authorities. Is there any debate? Any objection? Agreed to. I put clause 31, climate change duties of private entities. Is there any debate? Amendment to clause 32 by Honorable Senator Chabangu. Honorable Minister.
Chair, our response is that government appreciates the intention behind this amendment, which seeks to strengthen accountability for offenses resulting in significant environmental harm and to ensure that corporate entities are held responsible for their actions. The proposed definition of significant environmental harm provides useful guidance for the application of this provision and enhances legal certainty. However, provisions on operations for significant environmental harm are addressed in the Environmental Management Bill, which was recently approved by Cabinet and will be tabled before this House in due course. This applies to all forms of environmental harm, including forests, wetlands, wildlife habitats, and water bodies, to mention but a few. Creating such an offense in this bill should therefore create an overlap amounting to duplication of laws. Chair, government also has reservation regarding the proposed penalties. Prescription of a mandatory minimum fine denominated in US dollars or linked to a percentage of annual turnover departs from the established sentencing framework under our criminal law and may create instances with existing legislation. Penalties under this bill will be calibrated to align with the general framework of offenses under Zimbabwean law, while preserving the discretion of the courts to impose appropriate sanctions based on the facts and circumstances to each case. Similarly, while government agrees that doctors and senior managers who knowingly authorize, consent to, or facilitate environmental offenses should be held personally accountable, matters such as doctor disqualification are already provided for under other legislation governing companies and corporate governance. Introducing parallel sanctions in this bill may result in duplication and legal inconsistency. The bill already empowers the courts to impose penalties and provides mechanisms for the enforcement under the application, the applicable environmental and crime laws and criminal laws. Sorry. The government therefore considers that the existing provisions strike an appropriate balance between effective deterrence, accountability, and consistency within Zimbabwe's broader legal framework. Accordingly, the government is unable to support the amendment in its current form. I so submit.
Any debate? I put the question that the amendment be now made. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Those of the contrary opinion will say no. No. I think the noes have it. The noes have it. The question is accordingly negative. I put clause 32 as it is. Any objection? Any agreed to? 32. That is sorry. 30. I put clause 33. Regulations. Is there any debate? Any objection? Agreed to. I put clause 34. Incentives for promotion of climate change initiatives. Is there any debate?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Honorable Ngube.
Some clarification, Madam Chair, where it says incentives shall, in accordance with appropriate law. The minister is going to come up with incentives based on appropriate law. What exactly does that mean?
Minister. Look, I forgot.
Madam Chair, incentives in government are mostly prescribed in the fiscal laws, such as the income tax and other taxes and other charges. So it's covered under the fiscal laws. I so submit.
I put clause 35, international obligations and commitments. Is there any debate? Any objection? Agreed to. I put clause 36. Clause 36, amendment clause by Honorable Senator Chabang. Clause 36.
Madam Chair,
Respond.
the right of access to information is already provided for in the bill. This right is well protected in terms of Section 62 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, and further buttressed by the Freedom of Information Act, which outlines how one can enforce that right. Any litigant requiring access to information from public office can resort to the Constitution instead of this bill, creating duplication provisions. The Honorable Senator Chabang's concern regarding the protection of communities affected by projects with significant climate impacts is appreciated. Free, prior, and informed consent is a concept that forms the basis of environmental and social impact assessments enshrined in the Environmental Management Bill, to be tabled before Parliament very soon. All projects with significant environmental impacts, including climate impacts, are subject to environmental and social impact assessments in terms of that legislation, which has more safeguards beyond free, prior, and informed consent. The government fully supports the principle of community consultation, transparency, and protection of livelihoods. Zimbabwe's constitution and the existing environmental laws already provide for public participation and consultations in decision-making processes. The Climate Change Management Bill seeks to complement rather than replace or duplicate these legal frameworks. Accordingly, government considers that meaningful consultation and participation should continue to be guaranteed through the existing legal process, while avoiding provisions that could create legal uncertainty or unnecessarily impede the implementation of strategic national development and climate resilient projects. I so submit.
I put the amendment proposed by Honorable Chavangu. Is there any debate? I put the question that the amendment be now made. Those of that opinion will say aye. Those of the contrary opinion will say no. I think the noes have it. The noes have it. The question is accordingly negatived. I now put clause 36 as it is. Any objection? Agreed to. I put clause 37. Minister may amend first and second schedules and insert additional schedule. Is there any debate? Any objection? Agreed to. I put first schedule. Is there any debate? Any objection? Agreed to. I put second schedule. Is there any debate? Any objection? Agreed to. I shall now report the bill without amendment.
That's fine.
Mr. President, sir, the Committee of the Whole House has gone through the Climate Change Management Bill, HBA of 2025, as set forth in the accompanying copy, and has agreed to the same without amendments.
Thank you.
Order. The chairperson of the committees reports the Climate Change Management Bill, HB 5A of 2025, without amendment. What day for third reading, Minister? Of the House now. The Minister seeks leave of the House to have the third reading now. Is there an objection? Minister, can you move now? The question before the House is a motion by the Honorable Minister of Environment, Climate and Wildlife that the Climate Change Management Bill, HB 5A of 2025, be now read a third time. Is there any debate? I put the question that the Climate Change Management Bill, HB 5A of 2025, be now read a third time. Those who are of that opinion will say aye. Those of the contrary opinion will say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is accordingly affirmed, and the clerk will read the bill a third time.
Climate Change Management Bill, HB 5A 2025.
Congratulations, Minister.